Your journey to a successful global career in logistics and supply chain starts here in ULBI.
Empower your career and logistic with ULBI.
Join me to be logistic professional with ULBI.
Universitas Logistik and Business International, established under the auspices of Yayasan Pendidikan Bakti Pos Indonesia, is a higher education institution born from the merger of Politeknik Pos and Stimlaw. We are an educational institution that focuses on logistics, supply chain management, and electronic commerce. We also have a strong relationship with Pos Indonesia Company in the areas of services, courier logistics, and financial transactions. We offer a wide range of academic programs, ranging from diploma to Bachelor of Applied Science and bachelor's degree, organized through the vocational school and the Faculty of Logistics, Technology, and Business. Join us in shaping the next generation of leaders, creating the best talents for a brighter future.
Dengan penuh pengabdian.
Nias, Gunung Sitolik,
Komodo, Nusa Tenggara,
Kutajane, Aceh,
Tanjung Redep, Kalimantan Timur.
Terima kasih untuk ULBI yang sudah mendidik anak-anak kami, sudah menjadi manusia-manusia yang luar biasa sehingga mendapatkan kesempatan untuk bekerja di PT Pos.
Ditambah lagi saya hitungannya sekarang bisa kerja sebelum saya wisuda.
Pos Indonesia.
Terus untuk teman-teman semuanya juga yang berminat untuk masuk di ULBI boleh banget karena siapa tahu teman-teman bisa punya rezeki kayak aku ketika lulus nanti bisa langsung ditempatkan dan langsung bekerja di seluruh Indonesia. Bisa.
Universitas Logistik dan Bisnis Internasional berdiri di bawah naungan Yayasan Pendidikan Bakti Pos Indonesia, merupakan perguruan tinggi hasil penggabungan dari Politeknik Pos Indonesia dan Sekolah Tinggi Manajemen Logistik Indonesia. ULBI adalah lembaga pendidikan yang berfokus pada bidang logistik, manajemen rantai pasok, dan tata niaga elektronik. Kami memberikan pendidikan yang berkualitas dan relevan dengan kebutuhan industri, serta memiliki koneksi yang kuat dengan PT Pos Indonesia di bidang jasa kurir, logistik, dan transaksi keuangan. Pilihan jenjang pendidikan Diploma 3, S1 Terapan, dan Sarjana di dalam Fakultas Sekolah Vokasi dan Fakultas Logistik, Teknologi, dan Bisnis. Bergabunglah bersama kami, Creating Best Talent for Bright Future.
Uncertainty in the global economy requires supply chain to be resilient.
Smart logistics and digital supply chains drive innovations, efficiency, and sustainable growth.
from raw material to the final delivery. Logistik ensure business stay competitiveness in globalized world. It is therefore in the current global economy, we require experts who can manage uncertainty in the global supply chain.
With e-commerce booming, businesses need skilled professionals to optimize logistic operations worldwide.
Companies nowadays are investing heavily in supply chain innovations, creating endless opportunities for skilled professionals.
Enhance your career prospect with CILT International Certification embedded in our program.
Our curriculum is aligned with industry needs, combining theory with real-world application.
Gain practical experience of logistic and supply chain through case studies, simulation, and industry projects.
Our strong industry partnerships provide valuable internship and career opportunities for all of the students.
Come and join our master program to enhance your expertise in logistic and supply chain management.
Be sure to be part of ULBI, an institution that blends academic excellence with real-world industry applications.
Your journey to excellence in logistics and supply chain starts at ULBI.
Learn from international experience faculty with deep logistic and supply chain expertise.
Your journey to a successful global career in logistics and supply chain starts here in ULBI.
Jadi buka aja pas sesi tanya jawab. Cek. 1. Mori.
Empower your career and logistics with ULBI.
Join me to be logistic professional with ULBI.
UNIVERSITAS Logistik and Business International, established under the auspices of Yayasan Pendidikan Bakti Pos Indonesia, is a higher education institution born from the merger of Politeknik Pos and STIMLA. We are an educational institution that focuses on logistics, supply chain management, and electronic commerce. We also have a strong relationship with POS Indonesia Company in the areas of services, courier logistics, and financial transactions. We offer a wide range of academic programs, ranging from diploma to Bachelor of Applied Science and bachelor's degree, organized through the vocational school and the Faculty of Logistics, Technology, and Business. Join us in shaping the next generation of leaders, creating the best talents for a brighter future.
Dengan penuh pengabdian.
Nias, Gunung Sitoli,
Komodo, Nusa Tenggara,
Kuta Cane, Aceh.
Tanjung Redep, Kalimantan Timur.
Terima kasih untuk ULBI yang sudah mendidik anak-anak kami, sudah menjadi manusia-manusia yang luar biasa sehingga mendapatkan kesempatan untuk bekerja di PT Pos.
Ditambah lagi saya hitungannya sekarang bisa kerja sebelum saya wisuda.
Pos Indonesia.
Terus untuk teman-teman semuanya juga yang berminat untuk masuk di ULBI boleh banget karena siapa tahu teman-teman bisa punya rezeki kayak aku ketika lulus nanti bisa langsung ditempatkan dan langsung bekerja di seluruh Indonesia. Bisa
Universitas Logistik dan Bisnis Internasional berdiri di bawah naungan Yayasan Pendidikan Bakti Pos Indonesia, merupakan perguruan tinggi hasil penggabungan dari Politeknik Pos Indonesia dan Sekolah Tinggi Manajemen Logistik Indonesia. ULBI adalah lembaga pendidikan yang berfokus pada bidang logistik, manajemen rantai pasok, dan tata niaga elektronik. Kami memberikan pendidikan yang berkualitas dan relevan dengan kebutuhan industri, serta memiliki koneksi yang kuat dengan PT Pos Indonesia di bidang jasa kurir, logistik, dan transaksi keuangan. Pilihan jenjang pendidikan Diploma 3, S1 Terapan, dan Sarjana di dalam Fakultas Sekolah Vokasi dan Fakultas Logistik, Teknologi, dan Bisnis. Bergabunglah bersama kami, Creating Best Talent for Bright Future.
bisnis internasional, wadah nyata pembangun bangsa berdasarkan Pancasila, siap mengemban amanah, penyaji insan kompeten, kritis kreatif dan inovatif, berjiwa satria sejati. Chandra di muka madangku, karakter dan keterampilan, disiplin dan kerja keras, meretaskan kendaraan di peradaban dunia yang syarat dengan dinamika, berbekal kualitas ilmu dan integritas, sambutlah hidup menarik gemilang.
Uncertainty in the global economy requires supply chain to be resilient.
Smart logistics and digital supply chains drive innovations, efficiency, and sustainable growth.
From raw materials to the final delivery, Logistik ensure business stay competitiveness in globalized world.
It is therefore in the current global economy, we require experts who can manage uncertainty in the global supply chain.
With e-commerce booming, businesses need skilled professionals to optimize logistic operations worldwide.
Companies nowadays are investing heavily in supply chain innovations, creating endless opportunities for skilled professionals.
Enhance your career prospect with CILT International Certification embedded in our program.
Our curriculum is aligned with industry needs, combining theory with real-world application.
Gain practical experience of logistic and supply chain through case studies, simulation, and industry projects.
Our strong industry partnerships provide valuable internship and career opportunities for all of the students.
Come and join our master program to enhance your expertise in logistics and supply chain management.
Be sure to be part of ULBI, an institution that blends academic excellence with real-world industry applications.
Your journey to excellence in logistics and supply chain starts at ULBI.
Learn from internationally experienced faculty with deep logistic and supply chain expertise.
Your journey to a successful global career in logistics and supply chain starts here in ULBI.
empower your career and logistic with ULBI.
Join me to be logistic professional with ULBI.
Universitas Logistik dan Bisnis International, established under the auspices of Yayasan Pendidikan Bakti Pos Indonesia, is a higher education institution born from the merger of Politeknik Pos and Stimlaw. We are an educational institution that focuses on logistics, supply chain management, and electronic commerce. We also have a strong relationship with Pos Indonesia Company in the areas of services, courier logistics, and financial transactions. We offer a wide range of academic programs, ranging from diploma to Bachelor of Applied Science and bachelor's degree, organized through the vocational school and the Faculty of Logistics, Technology, and Business. Join us in shaping the next generation of leaders, creating the best talents for a brighter future.
Dengan penuh pengabdian.
Nias, Gunung Sitoli,
Komodo, Nusa Tenggara,
Kuta Cane, Aceh,
Tanjung Redep, Kalimantan Timur.
Terima kasih untuk ULBI yang sudah mendidik anak-anak kami, sudah menjadi manusia-manusia yang luar biasa sehingga mendapatkan kesempatan untuk bekerja di PT Pos.
Ditambah lagi saya hitungannya sekarang bisa kerja sebelum saya wisuda.
Pos Indonesia.
Terus untuk teman-teman semuanya juga yang berminat untuk masuk di ULBI boleh banget karena siapa tahu teman-teman bisa punya rezeki kayak aku ketika lulus nanti bisa langsung ditempatkan dan langsung bekerja di seluruh Indonesia.
Universitas Logistik dan Bisnis Internasional berdiri di bawah naungan Yayasan Pendidikan Bakti Pos Indonesia, merupakan perguruan tinggi hasil penggabungan dari Politeknik Pos Indonesia dan Sekolah Tinggi Manajemen Logistik Indonesia. ULBI adalah lembaga pendidikan yang berfokus pada bidang logistik, manajemen rantai pasok, dan tata niaga elektronik. Kami memberikan pendidikan yang berkualitas dan relevan dengan kebutuhan industri, serta memiliki koneksi yang kuat dengan PT Pos Indonesia di bidang jasa kurir, logistik, dan transaksi keuangan. Pilihan jenjang pendidikan Diploma 3, S1 Terapan, dan Sarjana di dalam Fakultas Sekolah Vokasi dan Fakultas Logistik, Teknologi, dan Bisnis. Bergabunglah bersama kami, Creating Best Talent for Bright Future.
Recording in progress.
dan inovatif, berjiwa satria sejati. Chandra di muka menerbang, karakter dan keterampilan, disiplin dan kerja keras, menetas takkan dalam. Di peradaban dunia yang syarat dengan dinamika, berbentuk kualitas ilmu dan integritas, sambut hari depan dan gemilang.
Oke, bisa dengar suara saya ya? Selamat malam, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to ULBI Global Lecture, and this is our season 2. And tonight we're going to have the first lecture, our adjunct lecture, Dr. Michael Wang, Ph.D. from the University of Kingston, United Kingdom, and he will focus on supply chain risk management. Okay, so ULBI Global Lecture is an event initiated by our beloved rector, Professor Nyoman Pujawan, but unfortunately, he is not able to join us tonight. Yeah, but that's okay. So before we begin, I'd like to remind you, all the participants, to change your name and write down your institution. Okay? And at the end of this session, we will have Q&A, so prepare yourself with questions on the chat room. Okay, with no further ado, I'd like to say hello again to Dr. Wang. Selamat malam, good evening, Dr. Wang.
Good evening, everyone.
How are you today?
Good, thank you.
So are you excited to come back here to ULBI Global Lecture?
Yes, we had the first lecture about international logistics. So today,
Yes.
we're going to move to the other important topic about supply chain risk management.
Okay, so are you ready to share your topic for tonight?
Yeah, would you be able to let me share my screen?
Yes. And I'd like
Thank you.
to remind you, Dr. Wang, that you have 60 minutes to present the materials, and we will have question and answer session after that. Okay, the time is yours.
Thank you. Right. All right, so good evening, everyone. So thank you for joining us today's lecture. So we're going to talk about the one of the important topics about supply chain risk management today. Yeah, we only have 60 minutes, so I will try to keep all the information brief. And if you have any question, feel free to ask me during the session or after the session. So today we're going to we'll talk about the risk and uncertainties. There are two different concepts in the supply chain risk management. And I also will include one of the popular concept about the supply chain risk. Recently, you might hear about from international business. We're going to look at about the country risk, okay? And we also will introduce about the resilience, supply chain resilience. That's one of the topic under the supply chain risk management, and we will briefly introduce about the some framework and concept. So this will help you understand what is the supply chain risk and how you can manage those risk in the supply chain organizations. So first of all, I want you to think about the risk. Okay, what is the risk? If you read some literature, there are many different definitions. But today I want to keep everything simple, easy to understand. So risk is almost everything, right? If you see things around you, and the risk might have the positive and negative impacts. Okay, people often think about the negative impact, but here today I also want you to understand those positive impacts of the risk. You know, for example, like the parcel delivery, right? The shipment delay is a negative impact, but sometimes they deliver early, you can consider as a positive impact. And also, as I mentioned, there are different type of the risk. To you in the supply chain management, how you can understand the risk, different type of risk and priorities. Remember, if you study the supply chain management, different industry has different supply chain system, have the different priorities, right? For example, in the food supply chain, the management more focused on the food safety. If you work in pharmaceutical supply chain, you might think about how you can deliver the effective drugs to the patient. If you work in the manufacturing industry, you might think about focus on the cost, how you're going to minimize the cost, utilizing technology. So that's why a different industry has different priorities. So as we mentioned, everything is a risk. You can't managing everything, right? You might hear if everything is important, nothing is important. So that's why we now move to the one of the you can see the pandemic, currently trade war. There's a changing time, and we are enter an uncertain world. Okay, you might hear the terms known knowns, unknown unknowns, unknown unknowns. So those are different terms refers to the different type of the definitions, concepts. For example, known knowns, that's that's the problem issues, and known unknowns, that's the risk. Unknown unknowns, more like the uncertainties. Later, we will talk about difference between the risk and uncertainty. But in supply chain management, risk and uncertainty are interchangeable. You can consider as same. So now we move to the supply chain risk. Okay, now you understand the risk is about negative impact or the positive impact of the events on the business operation. So supply chain risk is a complex concept. It's some people might confuse, right? So so here you should remember supply chain risk that might refers to the causes of the and the events or the consequences. So they might have the positive and negative impacts. And based on it, the way how you're going to managing, you can prevent all the recovery, reactive, proactive way, and a reactive way to managing the different type of the risk. For example, when we talk about this supply chain risk, they might have different causes, right? The human errors or the technology failures, and then they have different events. They cause the delay of the shipment or the fire or the damage to the shipping, the freight. The consequence that might have the financial loss or even the logistics negative, as already mentioned, negative and positive impact. So therefore, you have to think about the supply chain risk in the particular industry and the context. For example, if you want to understand the important risk, prioritize those, rank the supply chain risk, how to manage the risk, you have to think about the particular, focus on particular industry or countries. Different industries, I already mentioned, has different priorities. They might have different risk. And also they have the different countries. Today, later, I will introduce the country risk, because the supply chain now is across different country. Different countries imply the different level of the risk, right? Some countries that might have the higher risk in terms of the political systems, government policies, and even the currency exchange. So that's why, as a managers, you should understand all those potential risks. You don't have to managing all the risk, but you should understand those risks. And based on your limited resource, time, think about what's the best way to manage it, right? You don't have to always managing those risks. You can use the insurance, right? Third party to transfer, mitigate those risks. A definition of the risk, okay, as we already mentioned, there are different type of the definition. And you can see risk, you can consider as a probability or a measure of the range of the possible outcome. So they might have but in the supply chain risk, managers more focus on those negative impacts. For example, the shipment delays. So you have to think about what's caused the delays. If you have the injury, for example, in the port operation, safety, health and safety is one of the important priority. So you have to understand what causes the injuries and how you can prevent in the future, like a pandemic, for example. You can consider is a risk or uncertainty has a huge impact on the entire system, supply chain system. So then you have to understand how you're going to mitigate in the future if it happened again, and think about the strategy, the way you did managing them. So risk management, they might bring the opportunities. As we mentioned, positive risk can be viewed as opportunities. As we already mentioned, for example, the shipments arrive early. The management have to think about how they arrive early. You can consider this as opportunities. For example, if you managing this shipment delivery under the budget, so you spend less than the previous shipment, or you can think about this as a positive risk, and investigate those risk, the positive risk. They will, take them and take maximum advantage to improve your performance. in the future you can see how you can improve those opportunities, the performance. Risk and uncertainty, okay? There's two different things. But here we just briefly talk about, I did my PhD in supply chain risk and uncertainties. I can tell you there are two different concepts. Risk, simply you can measure. For example, like weather forecasting, you know what will happen tomorrow. You know the temperature going up or down. You know the weather. Uncertainty is a very different. They never happened before, for example, or you don't know what will happen. You have lack of the information. For example, like the pandemic, right? When pandemic start, no one knows what will happen, what's the impact, how long last. So you can consider this kind of the uncertainties. It's hard to measure, and already mentioned unknown. It's uncertainty. That means managers have to beware of those uncertainty events. For example, the trade war between China and US. You can't forecast. You don't know what will happen tomorrow. Yeah, how much the tax, the tariff we're going to apply to the goods shipping, so they have a significant impact on the supply chain as well. How your customer move your products or supplier change your supplier. A risk is known unknown, right? For example, like there's a delay for the shipment that cause the financial lose, for example, additional cost for the delay. You have to pay those documents you needed to aware of. So here you just understand risk and uncertainties are two different things. But in supply chain risk management, they try to combine them together because it's very difficult to differentiate them. And also they have a very similar impact on the operation. But today we focus on the risk management. Okay, if you're interested about the research uncertainty, I think that's the important and also interesting topic you can explore. When we look at the risk, a risk might include the subjective or objective, right? So risk appetite, this is one of the concepts you should understand. Normally based from the management or the managers, the risk appetite, that means how the organization to react to the risk, right? Now, how much risk they wanted to accept, they can tolerance. The other important, they lead to the other important concept about risk tolerance, right? As already mentioned, organizations, business has a very limited resources, right? You have a limited budget, you have a limited human resource people. So how much risk you want to take, right? And how you're going to manage those risks. Yeah. If you have a high risk tolerance, that means you might have to take higher risk, right? And then you need to develop a smart, I always mention smart strategy to managing those risk uncertainty. Now we move to the second topic I already mentioned, country risk. Okay. This is not a typical risk often discussed in the supply chain management, but nowadays become an important topic or the concept you can see. So I bring those concepts from international business management. If you're studying the international business management before, you might hear this term This is not a new term, but it's become one of the important area of research. If you want to study your PhD or master degree, this will be one of the topic you would want to look at. The country risk, you can consider as any type of the risk related to the country. Specifically, more focus on the negative impact on the specific country. Based on the international business operation, the country risk might be classified as the 4 different type of the risk: economic risk, political risk, competitive risk, and operational risks. So each risk, you need to conduct those analysis based on the different countries. As I already mentioned, for example, if you have the supply chain across a different country, so you should understand those different country risk attached with your supply chain operation. So political risk, this is one of the important area you hear. You see what happened in the US-China trade war. They caused a huge uncertainty on the global supply chain operation. Where and how you're going to managing your supply chain definitely has a influence by this political risk, right? And it's about you should understand the business, your goal. That's one thing when you managing the risk. Understand the organization objective. What's the organization wanted to achieve? Then you can develop the different strategies and solution to managing. The political risk, if you read the literature, they already have the lot of definitions, so I'm not going to repeat again. So you can consider the political risk is about the political instability. That's one term you can see. It's more stable. If you have a more stable political environment, normally imply lower political risk, right? So, for example, the government has a consistent policy. That means this country has a lower political risk. If the government change every couple of years, the policies change quite frequently, that's cause a huge uncertainty and risk. You can consider that's a higher political risk, but you can read additional book help you to understand. When we look into the political risk, okay, that's the some examples you should remember. If the country face a high political risk, so you might consider, as already mentioned, how much risk you wanted to take. You might have some plan, contingency plan. You might use an insurance, cost benefits. I understand what's the cost risk you want to take. And also you have to think about it from customer perspective, consumer boycott. Some example like Japanese car, right? Chinese consumer try to boycott those against the Japanese vehicle. You might hear those news. Yeah, so there's a lot of the examples you can see. And when you apply to the supply chain operation, it's like business, right? You have to think about what's the risk, what's the impact based on that. Policies, yeah, that's part of the political risk as well. Already mentioned. what's the restrictions. You should understand if you work with particular countries, you should understand those limitations. For example, if you want to invest some business in the Middle East or some country, developing country, you should understand those requirements. For example, what's maximum money you can withdraw, or what's the money you can transfer. Some countries, I know some developing countries, they allowed you, they have a maximum limited, allow you to transfer the money across different the border. So and also taxes, operation restriction. Yeah, those risk you should understand. Economic risk is also part of the country related to the country risk, right? That's what's the mainly focus on the negative impact when we talk about those economic risk, the interest rates, for example, the human factor, human resource, those part of the things you can consider as the economic risk, inflation rates, exchange rates, right? For example, if the exchange rates very unstable, and also the inflation rate high, so that's mean that's normally have the high economic risk. When you consider the investment or the interest rates, that's you have to be careful, and also the stock market, because that's reflect the country economics environment. The other important country risk you should consider is operational risk, right? The operational risk that's in a particular country, right? They have a different type of the culture, local culture, infrastructure. Yeah, for example, if you have a very poor and unreliable infrastructure, that means you have the longer transit time, right? I remember when I work in one of the organization before, international organization, we have the business in one of the developing country. They don't have the motorways. They using donkey to transport the shipment. Sometimes take a very long time, and also the local suppliers. You should understand those can consider as the operational risk. Competitive risk, yeah, different country have different competitors, the different markets. So you should familiar those kind of the risk, conduct them, work with a local business supplier or the market research company to better understand what's the competitive risk. Yeah, and at least you should understand what are the competitors, how you can manage those risk. And other risk you might think about, understand in international trade and international supply chain, the payment risk, okay? So yeah, some high risk countries, mostly in the developing country, Africa. So how you can receive the payments, how you can managing your supplier, distribution risk. Yeah, that's how the delays and also the damaged goods. Are you going to managing those returns, or how you can manage using insurance company or third party, and also the product liability, right? Some countries they had a very restrict consumer law, like in UK, you have to return, those goods. Customer, they have a very restricted consumer law you have to apply. So then you have to think about those product liability, what kind of the products you have. Some certain products, for example, the pharmaceutical products, you have to get a certain certificate license in order to enter the markets or the country. So now we briefly introduced about the supply chain risk and the country risk. Now we move to the next topic about what is the risk management. Okay, so based on the Supply Chain Risk Leadership Council, the supply chain risk, simply understand is managing the risk, supply chain risk. But actually definition you can help you to understand is about coordinate the product, the activities, direct and indirectly with your supply chain partner, because supply chain risk is across the supply chain. Yeah, so you can't managing all the supply chain risk by the single organization or the focal company. You have to work closely with your supplier. Sometimes your supplier to dealing those kind of the problem events. For example, one of the increasing issue is about the environmental concern. Sometimes they call the sustainability issue. How to reduce the carbon emission, for example. So the organization have to work with the manufacturing and also the supplier, and in order to achieve, to collaborate together and to reduce the impact of the environmental events. And there's some other sources of the external risk you can consider. It might have an impact on the supply chain operation. The first one, for example, the digital technology. The technology change as an organization, how you can work closely with your supplier to update your technology, training the staff member in order to mitigate those potential risk. And also work with the supplier, as we mentioned. Supply chain risk management is a collaborative activities. It's quite important to work closely with the supplier and the supply chain partner, and also the stakeholder, not just the business organizations and also the governments. If you managing the international supply chain, and the international organization in order to achieve the targets. And also the suppliers, that's one of the cause the issues, shortage of the key suppliers. You can see the semiconductor industry. They have the shortage of the raw materials, cause a lot of the supply chain risk. And also the reputation, how they manage about sustainable issues, right? The management or the managers need to understand those potential impacts on the supply chain risk, and also the human actors, climate change, extreme weather, and also has an impact on the question.
No, not yet.
Okay. Yeah. So the weather, extreme weather, climate change, now it's become one of the significant issue in the supply chain risk, right? So if you want to study your PhD, or conduct your master level research, this is definitely one of the hot topic you can choose. Based on the value chain model, how you're going to identify the different key risk. As already mentioned, supply chain is about system. They involve the different stage, different activities, and the different type of the risk. You can see they involve the from beginning new products, design, introduction, plan, sourcing, making, delivering to the final customer. So they give you, based on the chart, you can see they introduce some popular key risk. So help you understand, include the products and the process disruption. So here, simply understand the risk is about how they cause the disruption on the supply chain, right? As a management, you have to continue to supply the products, produce your products. So how you're going to managing those risk disruption, this is also considered as part of the risk management. So that you can managing from the supplier, based on this chart, you can see the managing the products, the process, and also include the supplier and also the customer. How you're going to deliver the products to the customer, and consider the environment and the society, community. This is one, I don't know if you might saw this chart or the risk classification from a supply chain management perspective. Yeah, there are different type of the supply chain risk, and a different way to classify or to identify the different type of risk. But here, this is one of the typical supply chain risk classification. They have the supplier risk, process risk, you can consider as the internal operational risk, and demand risk, which is related to the customer markets. And also you also have the environmental risk. So there are 5 risks, and also you can find this paper from the source. Yes, I already mentioned supply chain risk that can cause the disruption. So that's one of the main reason manager don't like the risk, because it causes a negative impact. When disruption occur, they will have significant impact on not just about the delivery time, additional costs, and also they have the damage on your operation. So those example I shared give you some example of the earthquake. That's Japan earthquake, and the Thai flood that caused the disruption on those international supply chain business. It's more. You can see the climate change, extreme weather cause more and more issues, problem on the supply chain. So the supply chain disruption, have to be managed. So again, yeah, there's an additional project. When I work in New Zealand government, we had to understand how the supply chain, how the business react to the disruption, and also when earthquake, such a disaster happened, supply chain risk management is no longer just the business responsibility, and also they involve the different stakeholder from the society, community, local community, government authorities. So they have to working together to recover the events. Vulnerability. Okay, this is other important or the popular concepts or term you should understand when you studying the supply chain risk. When people talk about the supply chain risk, the other term you use is the vulnerability, right? The weakest chain. So they give you some example, some questions, okay, help you to identify the supply chain vulnerability. So you might write down those questions or ask, you can apply to your organization or business if you have your managing your organization or business. Think about what has disrupted operation in the past, right? That's to help you identify those risk, okay, the vulnerability based on your historical or your experience, all right? And then what known weakness do we have, right? For example, if you have a frequent delay to the customer, right? So that will be one of the concern or the weakness. Or you have very lot of the complaint about the product quality or product return. That's maybe the weakness, yeah. Or you have always get a shortage of the product from the supplier, so maybe supplier is your weakness. So understand your weakness, and also you have to record those near misses. Have experienced, yeah, those problem might not cause a huge impact now, but might in the near future, right? You have to understand those events. And what would be the effect of the shortage of the key materials, all right? What's the impacts? Like the last three questions, the effect of the loss of your distribution side, the loss of your key supplier or customer. What's those impacts? So you should have some kind of the knowledge or the information. Then you can decide what would be the best way to handle the issues. This is one of the example I get from the GM, General Motors. This is one of the largest organization. I think I attended one of the webinar or the meeting. One of the CEO showed the example of the crisis management, or you can understand the risk management. So they show the you can see the top risk number of the highest number of the risk would be the factory fires, floods, the second, storm, earthquake, those natural disaster. So they have the highlights the potential impact and the no potential impacts. So this shows the global scale, the GM case study. So this provides the business a picture. What's the impact of the risk? And already mentioned before, different industry, different country, different business, they might have different experience, has a different risk. So it's very important, when you wanted to manage the risk, is understand the big picture. So you have to record those events. I already mentioned before, what's the disrupt operation in the past, understand the weakness you have, then have the kind of the information or data. One of the technique you can use is a supply chain virtualization. Okay, that's one of the technique you can help you to managing the risk. It's different. Yeah, you can consider is a technique or the data visualization or the method to present the events or they present the data to help the manager to understand what's happening in the business. So this is one of the example to show the supply chain risk across the different countries. So that's also from the GM. So you can see they're using the map, and the virtualization system. They have 5,500 tier 1 and 23,000 tier 2 active sites. So you can see they're using different color to represent each location. So once it happens, for example, the earthquake or the pandemic, you can see, so they can quickly see how many factories or the suppliers affect. On the right side, it shows the business in the United States. They have the different color, purple, yellow, green, represent the different tier 1, tier 2, and the main plants. So they can see the distance, how far away from the main factory. And if you are the manager, so those information can help you much easier to understand those potential impact, and also you can quickly have some kind of clear information rather than read the report. So using those GIS technology nowadays, as already mentioned before, in the digitalization, there are so many technology you can use, but the most important thing, how you can apply technology to help you to solve the problem, right? So using the GIS technology, they can improve the visibility into your supplier network, especially when you're managing 100 different suppliers, over 100 different products. Improve the visibility can help you better prevent and proactively managing the risk rather than reactive way. Also, you can use for the reactive managing the risk, and also develop the more efficient responsive process. Like one of the project I'm doing now is how to quickly recovering from the disruption, right? Different organization, you might have different strategy, different goals, but you have to think about the process. What's the best way to react and quickly recovering from the disruption, reduce the disruption time. That's one of the objective or the task. Yeah. And also enable the proactive way, strategic approach to the supply chain risk management. There are some papers I published before you might read. It's all online. So they demonstrate the different type of the supply chain risk uncertainty. So this paper is about the impact of the supply chain uncertainty and risk on the logistic performance. We studied, prioritize, identify those key risks in Australia, Korea industry. This other paper, how we evaluate the logistic capability, how you can respond or to mitigate different type of supply chain risk uncertainty. This one also based in the Australia, Korea industry. So this is third paper about managing the supply chain uncertainty and risk in the pharmaceutical industry. You can see the difference between the logistic and pharmaceutical industry. In this conceptual paper, we propose the framework, focus on the pharmaceutical supply chain and what's the priority in the pharmaceutical industry. And as been cited many times. There's other project. I work in the New Zealand government. This paper focuses on the supply chain risk in the dairy industry. Right. So robust supply chain management strategy. This is one of the key purpose or the strategy. You have to think about how you're going to managing those risk fluctuations in demand. You can consider it as a risk, and also the to address those major disruption. Yeah. So I think we already covered the risk and the different type of risk. Here, yeah, risk. The term is very broad and complex. But here you should remember this risk might refer to the objective risk and the perceived risk. Okay, so yeah. We just go quickly. We don't have much time left. Yeah, objective risk. You can consider that risk exists in our world environment every day. Yeah, we live in an uncertain world, and we also have the perceived risk. Yeah, different managers, they have different understanding or knowledge, so they might have the different perceived risk. So you can for the risk management, okay, there are different type of there are many different process. You know, like sometimes you hear the 3 or 4, 5, 6, 9 different steps. Here we just make a sample as you can consider as the 3 phases or the 3 stage. The risk management, identify the risk, and assess, evaluate the risk, prioritize, understand which one is important, address, you know, the final stage, managing, mitigate. Yeah, the different way you can, for example, you can mitigate the risk, reduce the risk. As I mentioned before, you can use in a third party, you know, like the purchasing insurance to managing the risk, like the shipping, maritime industry. All the shippers have to purchase in the maritime risk insurance to managing those risk. Risk identification. I think we cover those. Focus on the negative risk and balance the cost benefits. Right, you have to think about how much costs you to managing the risk. Okay, sometimes you can leave as it. You know, you don't have to do anything. Yeah, some risk might have a very minor impacts, and also understand the purpose. Yeah, a lot of people talk about supply chain risk management. You should understand the purpose. Why you wanted to managing those risks. Yeah, and the measurements. If you can't measure, you can't manage it. And how you're going to measure your risk? Did you managing it well? How you measure the outcome, the performance, right? Sometimes the risk is it's hard to be measured. You have to think about a smart way. And the risk assessment, yeah, that's the way. That's about the evaluate, identify, and evaluate the particular risk. That's involved the procurement risk or the customer risk, internal operation, supply, demand. Yeah, there's a different type of the risk. You might and at this stage, you focus on the main risk which you identified from the first stage, and think about the approach. What's the way? how you're going to managing. The final stage will be the mitigation. You can't managing all the risk again. Yeah, there always has a risk. You have to think about what's a smart way you using innovation. Yeah, because you always face a new problem, new risk, new issues, and utilizing the technology, digital technology, help you to managing the risk, proactive way or reactive way. And also think about the risk management strategy from your organization perspective. Building the risk management culture. If risk management it's not just one or other person's jobs, should be embedded into the entire organization. All the people, all the employees have to working together to achieve the goal. And also you have to understand those shortcomings of risk management. As already mentioned before, the decision making, and also the managers, how they're going to apply those risk management strategy. VUCA, you might hear this term before. Let's give you some kind of the mapping, try to transfer the uncertainty, for example, to the understanding, from the ambiguity to the agility. Yeah, that's how you're going to manage the risk. And the supply chain risk should be considered as a holistic approach. Yeah, I already mentioned supply chain include the different stakeholders, different peoples, different parties. You have to working together, and there's no single or standard solution to managing all the problem. So it's very important to working together to fill up. It's one of the system. I don't think we have enough time to cover everything here. A system. You can read from those the reference, resilience in food chain. So they introduce about look at the supply chain as a interactive system based on the different levels, the process, and infrastructure, organization and the internal organization network, and the highest levels, the macro environment. So level 1 is about focus on the process, because that's how you managing your internal operation risk, improve the visibility, agility, and also have to control your activity. Then understand those relationships, and also the impact of the risk. And already mentioned before, managing the supply chain risk is not just one organization's job. You have to work with a different organization, understand the inter-organization network, and the environment as well. Conduct the pest analysis to develop the strategy. Resilience, this is a term you might hear before. The risk management, one of the purpose is to achieve the resilient supply chain. So resilience is about the ability of the system to return to the original states after being disrupted. So that means quickly recovering, reduce the impact of the disruption, and develop the robust supply chain management systems. So they are very close linked, risk and resilience. Reduce the risk, improve the resilience. This is a final chart framework. This might guide you to understand how to build a resilient supply chain. Okay, based on the supply chain collaboration, supply chain re-engineering, agility, and the supply chain risk management culture. So that's collaboratively to achieve the resilient supply chain. And also nowadays you can see the sustainability, which is also closely interconnected with the resilience. So you have to including those factor such as environmental and social responsibility into your supply chain risk management. Right, I think that's all for today's lecture. So now I hand the time to you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Wang. So approximately 60 minutes, yeah. Okay, let's move on to question and answer sessions. So anyone who would like to ask question to Dr. Wang can write down your question on the chat room, or maybe you would like to talk in person to Dr. Wang, you can raise your hand. Okay, so while we are waiting for the questions, I think right now the participants are thinking about what to write on the chat room. I'd like to talk about artificial intelligence, if I may, even though you did not mention it on your explanation tonight. I mean, you said that using technology is one of the mitigation way. So, is AI is a mitigation, or it's another risk in supply chain management?
Thank you. I think you asking a very good question because
Thank you.
we have thank you. Well, because we have a very limited time.
Yeah.
As you know, the supply chain risk management is a very important topic, very, very broad topic. I just try to, because most students they might didn't study the supply chain risk before, so I just want to start from fundamental concept. I think you mentioned a very interesting and a very important topic about AI, artificial intelligence. Let's bring a very new area about cybersecurity. Yeah, and now it's considered a very important part of the supply chain risk management because with the increasing development of the digitalization, more and more company and a process or operation based on the technology. Once they lose the power, for example, the disruption of the system, you can't process, you can't work, you have to delay. So I think AI, from this perspective, AI, how are we going to managing the information, data, and you might hear the chat GDP, you might using chat GDP. One of the concern would be the privacy, right? All the information you use is being uploaded to the server and they can be used by other people. So that's why there's a lot of argument about how they're going to managing the system, how they're managing the technology. Yes, technology they has the potential, also has the advantage and the disadvantage. So from this perspective, yeah, they bring the new risk. Like one of the book I'm currently work with one of the top professor, we write about the supply chain risk management. Hopefully they're going to publish next year. We mentioned about the technology bring the new risk. That's why we mentioned innovation. You have to be creative, smart to develop the risk. From other side, when you talk about the AI, yes, they can be used for managing their supply chain risk. Managing supply chain risk, remember, we talk about the first stage, identify the supply chain risk. So AI, they allowed you to increasing the visibility, allowed the collaboration, and also they develop the data, right? They provide more analytic analysis to present, what they can calculate, calculate and present the potential risk that might help the managers to identify those potential issues. They might based on, but one thing you have to understand the limitation of the AI, because the AI have to develop those strategy or the method based on the historical information, which means, if they can't managing those something never happened, like the pandemic. If the AI they can't manage it if they never have the data. So yeah, so understand the limitation of the AI. You can use AI to help managing the risk, and also, but you have to understand the limitation of the AI, the technology. For example, the AI, they have a bias. Sometimes they give you bias information. They're not always right. Yeah. So sometimes so that's why very be careful when we talk about technology. How you're going to apply it. So that's why there's a lot there's a discussion about the attended the conference at Oxford University last month, discussed about AI and human interaction. So that's why we still need the people. Human factors still play a very important role based on the current technology capability. So yeah, I think you bring a very interesting question, and this also can lead to many discussion and research.
That's right. Thank you very much. It's been a very wonderful explanation.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we have more questions from our participants for tonight. From Muhammad Hisam. Mr. Hisam said, what are the supply chain risks when food and energy are conflicting?
Yeah, I think Mohammed asked a very important topic we haven't covered today, the energy. Yeah, supply chain risk management. One of the important areas about energy. So I'm not sure what's the your means when food and energy are conflicting. So yeah, so like I discussed with when I write the book Supply Chain Risk, we talk about the energy issues. Nowadays, you might hear a lot of they talk about the new energy or the renewable energy. But if you look at the detail, the cost of the renewable energy and how efficient, for example, like an electronic vehicle, right? They have to use the battery, but those materials can't be fully recycled. And also there's a lot of argument about those the energy. So when we talk about energy, we not just look at the how they store or how they use. We have to think about the source of the energy, right? If the source of the energy is still like cause carbon emission or doesn't really have an environmental friendly, that doesn't means meaningful environmental. So yeah, so that's an important topic in the supply chain risk, and also different in the food supply chain. There's a lot of the arguments there. So I strongly suggest that you can continue to look at those areas, emerging technology. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. We have more questions from Nur Azizi. How might the perception of risk by ordinary people affect decision making in supply chain management?
Yeah, that's lead to the question. The last framework we showed the organization and management have to develop the risk culture, risk management culture. So that's linked to everyone. That's what we mentioned. So the organization have to develop such culture and engage with all the people, not just the risk managers or the. So that's why, for example, like the health safety training, right? So all the people, all the worker or employees have to report those risk events or the injuries. So that's how, yeah, similar like the supply chain risk management. It's very important to bring all the employees and ordinary people together to achieve the goal. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Dr. Wang,
Yeah.
Muhammad Hisham responded on the next chat. He said, I mean that for renewable energy uses materials, those are food. I think he meant that the energy uses food materials
Okay. I'm
for,
not
for the
sure. Yeah.
yeah, for
So
the first question.
yeah. And one thing I want to mention is about when they generate source, there might some argument nuclear power. Yeah, you can see what happened in the Middle East and China. They built so many nuclear power station. Even they have argument, they have the impact on those radiations or the environment, but they have the you can consider as a low emission energy. Yeah. So I'm not sure what's the renewable energy using materials, food. You mean the rubbish, the recycling and regenerate the energy? I'm not sure. Yeah, it's like a recycled oil or something, bio oil.
Yes, Mr. Hisham, can you explain more? Or like biofuel from CPO?
Oh yeah. I think that's an interesting topic. At the moment, when I work in the New Zealand government, they have the team to work on the biofuel. They extract the oil from the tree, renewable material, and also some countries like China, they recycle those used food, the oil, remanufacturing to the energy use. So I don't think there's a conflicting interest at the moment because they are still developing. But I think that's can lead to contribute to their circular economy. You might hear the circular supply chain, how you can reuse, remanufacturing those materials and reduce the cost of reduce the carbon emission. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so I hope those answer your question, Mr. Hisham. Okay, thank you. Let's go on to the next question from Izati Winda. She asks, can environmental social governance aspect be integrated into risk management? Is this consideration important beyond investment considerations?
Yeah, that's a very good question. Thank you. As I mentioned, we didn't cover the latest. I should bring those latest information. I was surprising. Yes, sustainability is considered a very close part of the risk management, because I already I didn't cover it. Yeah, like the ESG, environmental, social issues is part of the risk. For example, like a food supply chain, the food safety, the social responsibility played a very important role. So that's why the supply chain risk is close linked to those sustainable issues. And like we mentioned before, the energy as well, energy that's lead to there's the environmental concern and also the carbon emission as well. Yeah, so that it should be considered as part of the risk management. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, let's move on to the next question from Daniel BP. He asks, does supply chain maturity always align with risk reduction, or are these circumstances in which greater maturity actually creates vulnerability?
Yeah, it's I think the supply chain maturity it's a different concept. As already mentioned, risk has come from different sources. Supply chain internal sources just one way. Nowadays, today's more risk or uncertainties from external environment. For example, like U.S.-China trade war, they change the geopolitical influence. So yes or no. So yeah, so there's this question. I think we needed to more investigation on those questions. So yeah.
Okay. Okay, I hope Daniel can follow the answer. Okay, let's move on to the next one from Ricky Fajar Ramadan. He asked about novelty. Is there a lot of novelty related to SCM risk?
I'm not sure what's the novelty you mentioned. You mean the technology or the idea or the strategy?
I think, is it related to research? Novelty in research, maybe?
Yeah. So as I said, supply chain risk management is a important topic now. You can consider as one of the subject under the supply chain risk management. So yeah, there are a lot of the research depends on your research questions, your what you wanted to investigate. Focus on the risk identification or mitigation. They always have space of the future opportunities there.
Okay, so like this question from Izati again, she asked about a gap in research on sustainable supply chain risk management. And she asks, can you suggest what needs to be explored further on this topic?
Yeah, thank you. You can see if you using the Google Scholar or the Scopes, you can search. There's an big increasing number of the sustainable supply chain research. There's a gap, for example, like social responsibility, and also digital technology, how the technology can be applied, implement into the supply chain risk management. You can see nowadays they have so many new technologies and new issues, new risk, like AI we discussed before. The new technology also bring the new risk. So yeah, Yeah, definitely. There's a gap in the sustainable supply chain risk management, like a circular supply chain, and how you're going to apply link the conceptual framework to the practical implication, to guide. I think there's a gap, how you bridge the between the theoretical and the practical uh, implications. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so that was the last question from the chat room. So anyone would like to ask Dr. Wang in person, you can raise your hand and ask more question. Oh, I think we have one more on the chat room from Mr. Julius. He asks, how about your opinion about ESG on SCM in Indonesia? Is it necessary or not yet?
Of course, it is necessary. Yeah, we live in a one global. We only that's the only place we can live the human. So that's why there's a collaborative effort. And you can see like the plastic bag. That's one of the example how they're going to reduce the plastic bag use. So all the countries, governments, they collaboratively work together. I remember when I work in Australia, this country they removed the plastic bag. And when I moved to New Zealand, they start moving all the plastic bag. And then I moved to Dubai. I observe the time they start reduce the using the plastic bag. They using recycling bag. Yes, of course, it is important for every country to be involved to develop the ESG, and also the supply chain is a global business practice. So that's why it's very important to set up a standard. And if you have the customer in the UK or US, you also have to apply follow complying with those requirements from those Western governments. So that's why, ESG definitely is one important in the supply chain management. Yeah.
Okay, so I think Mr. Julius' question is the last question for tonight. I don't think there will be more. Okay, so I think we are reaching the end of our. Oh, we have one more question. It's okay. We still have time actually. So we have Ibu Mania.
Yeah, hello, Mr. Wang.
Hello.
Yeah, I'm Mania, lecturer from ULBI. I'm interested the topic this night. Yeah, I want to ask for you about if we want to measure the risk value in supply chain. What tools would be appropriate for us to use? Maybe you have experience. Thank you.
Thank you, Mania. I think you ask a very important question and a very crucial. The measurements, again, I think if you depends on what you wanted to measure. If you look at the supply chain risk from supply chain risk perspective, it's very important to focus on the industry. That's why I published the paper. I showed the different papers. So each paper focuses on the different industries. Different industry has a different priority, as we mentioned. So that's why it's very difficult to standardizing those measures. And also different countries, they might have different contexts. So that's why I think your research question, your questions are very valuable when you consider in a particular context, in a particular country or industry. Yeah, and I think they are a standard framework, like I showed you before, the supply risk, demand risk, internal or environmental risk. I think that might give you the guidance or give you the overall framework, and then you can conduct the interview with the particular experts to measure the area, particular area you wanted to evaluate or assist. Yeah.
Okay, thank you for practice.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Bu Mania. So Bu Mania is the last person who give question for tonight, as you are reaching the end of our lecture for tonight. Okay, so before I end this lecture, so Dr. Wang, do you have any closing statement for us here?
Okay, thank you, everyone. Thank you for attending this second lecture. I'm so happy to meet all you, and I'm also available on my email. I showed you before my email address. So if you have any question, feel free to contact me. I will share the slides to you, and so you can share with my slides, today's slides. To everyone. So again, thank you very much.
Terima kasih. Thank you. So before we leave,
Thank
we
you.
would like to have our photo session. Okay,
Thank
so
you, Mr. Wang.
all participants, please turn on your camera, and we are going to have this session together, this photo session. And can you please help us, Mr. Operator, to, yeah.
Yeah, we will capture.
Okay, so is everyone ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
Okay, please give.
1, 2, 3. Okay. Second screen. 1, 2, 3. Well done. Thank you.
Okay, terima kasih. Thank you very much. We are so happy to have you here, Mr. Wang.
Thank you.
Unfortunately, tonight is your last meeting here at our ULBI Global Lecture, and we hope that we could meet again on the next event. Okay, and to everyone, terima kasih. Thank you for coming to our global lecture, and don't miss out for the next meeting with different topic and different adjunct professor. Okay, so I'd like to close tonight's meeting, and don't forget, will be sorry. Okay, good night. Goodbye, everyone. Thank you.
Goodbye, Ibu Widya.
Bye. Thank you, everyone.
Terima
Good
kasih.
evening.
Ya, selamat
Recording
malam.
stopped.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.